What moment completely changed your life forever? 4 in the morning, I hear a thud in the bedroom. Found my wife on the floor. Massive stroke, right side affected, cognitive and speech abilities impaired. Just that quickly, both of our lives changed. She survived, but is an entirely different person. I am her 24/7 caregiver. I can't afford to hire someone to come in the home, so I can't go back to work. Her income, beyond her pension, is gone as well. Financially, I'm slowly working through it. Losing over half of our income has certainly been a challenge. Most Americans are one medical emergency away from ruin. Even with good insurance, I still have medical bills due, as well as the other financial obligations we made while still employed. Emotionally, it's been draining. Physically, I'm tired, but I still have my wife, so who am I to complain? Yeah, you can still complain if that's what you need to do some days. If I break my finger and my friend breaks their arm, my finger still hurts. Thanks. I do complain, mostly to myself. Life's not fair, but I know it could have been worse. We're 5 months into this journey and she is mostly upbeat and happy, if frustrated with our new life. She's still recovering, still in therapy, still getting better. My SIL had a massive stroke in January and just returned home from a stroke rehabilitation clinic. I can't imagine what you are going through, but you need time for yourself. Ask for help. See if local organizations or agencies have respite care for caregivers. You need it off your mind for at least an hour or two a week. Sending positive thoughts your way. In 1992, my buddy and I had a day off from our retail jobs. This is in the Bay Area. We decided to go up to San Francisco to hang out for the day. I decided I wanted to go to Sega's US headquarters to see Sega. Fresh out of I had no idea this wasn't a thing you could do. Go to Sega HQ and ask to look around. Bewildered, they told me to leave as this was a business, not a theme park. They were very nice, but very confused. As we were leaving, I was backing out and hit a car exiting the parking lot. The man I hit assumed I was the kid of someone who worked there, so we ended up talking. I informed him that I was just there because I loved Sega and wanted to look around, and we had a good laugh about it. Turns out he went to the same college as I was attending at the time, and had lived in the same dorms. The following week, when I went to pay him for the damage to the car, he showed me around and introduced me to some people and told the story of why I was there. 2 weeks later, I got a job answering phones for Sega. Been working in the video game industry for over 30 years now. Done okay for myself. Had that series of events not happened, I don't know what my life would be like today. How do you feel about your foster parents versus birth parents? We're fostering our nephew right now. He's almost 3 and has been in the system since birth, and with us since we found out and got licensed to foster him over 2 years ago. He had just turned 9 months until we got licensed and he came to us. We didn't even find out he had been removed until he was 4 or 5 months old. We're on track to adopt, and the current plan, if it ever happens, is to always let him know he's adopted. His bio dad is my husband's much younger half-brother. He's really turning his life around and is happy we have his son. I can see him still being in kiddo's life if he stays on the path he's on now. Bio mom is another story. She's hardly done anything to get custody, but won't sign over rights either. I don't see her being a good influence in his life, but I also won't refuse him the chance to know her better when he's older and asks. I so want to do the right thing for him. I would love to hear your perspective. Coming from a situation like his, what can I do to make him know how loved he is and not feel betrayed or resentful? Speaking as someone who was adopted, it was never a secret that I was adopted. It was just a fact of life, like you need to eat food and drink water. What my parents did was never make it a big deal. I was just their kid, you know. They told me about my birth parents and gave me everything I needed if I wanted to reach out, which I didn't because they both tried to murder me on separate occasions. Story for another time. I have a great relationship with my parents. We actually just went on a big old shopping trip together this week. My father caught me smoking pot in the attic, drug tested me, and found out I was doing way harder drugs at age 17. He then said he was going to send me to a rehab, or he can drug test me every 2 months until I was a year clean. He made me exercise 5 days a week and work in the family business. Now I have an active lifestyle and good discipline in my daily life. That moment looking back on it changed my life forever. I will always say I have the best father on earth. I'm now 30 years old and married to the love of my life, and think of that day a lot. Just as a clarification, my dad really didn't care about smoking weed. It was the heroin and cocaine I consumed, shot up as a teenager while I was touring in my cool punk rock band LOL. Call him up and let him know. That's one hell of a father. Going to remember this lesson for my children and hope I never have to put it to practice. I wish I had your dad. Instead, I got kicked out for smoking pot, then ended up on heroin, and really anything else. Going to prison and realizing that would be my life if I kept on was the moment that changed my life. Funnily, my parents smoked a bunch of pot in their heyday edit. It's been 14 years since I last shot up opiates. I got a degree, married a wonderful man, and am raising 2 beautiful babies. I couldn't be happier with my life. Good for your dad, and good for you for listening to him. My ex was addicted to H at 15 and his parents found out. They didn't do one thing about it. Fast forward 25 years later, coke, crack, and oxy were daily, weekly, bankrupting realities. By the time I left him, I begged his dad to send him to rehab. Nope, I was the problem. He odd 3 weeks later. Fortunately, he lived. Yeah, fuck my in-laws. I used to hang out with a large group of friends. I was picking on one of the guys at one of our party. He walked over and poured a beer on my head. I was much bigger than this guy, and it took balls for him to do that. The whole party stopped to watch what would happen. I had an epiphany while he was doing that and realized I had been an a-hole to this guy for years. I stood up and walked over to him. Beer dripping down my hair, cheek closed, and apologized for being an asshole. I don't think he ever forgave me, but it was a powerful lesson for me. I never wanted to be the kind of person to pick on others, and I never did it again. That was 39 years ago. The morning my first wife passed away from sepsis, leaving me 24 at the time, with a 4-year-old to figure out how to raise. Long story short, she's almost 27 now and is successful in her career and very independent. I still internalize everything and never really mourned properly, and it's hanging over me probably until my days are at an end. It's never too late to process grief. I am a therapist myself and spoke with a man in his mid-70s today who has never let his soulmate go after she left him. He realized that he's never allowed himself to be happy after that and feels like he missed out on a lot of things. I'm not saying that's you, but grief is heavy to carry, and you don't have to carry it alone. I'm so sorry you are struggling with this, and I hope someday you can give yourself permission to move through it. Kudos on raising a great kiddo through it all. I was 22, just stayed up all night the previous Monday after selling blow at a party, but all the profits, I snorted up my nose. I was laying on a makeshift bed made from old sheets and couch cushions in a spare room in my mother's apartment. Geeked out of my mind, couldn't sleep. At almost exactly 4:30 a.m., Perfect Blue Buildings by the Counting Crows started playing, which is a song about addiction, and has the line, "It's 4:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. It doesn't get much worse than this." It seemed like it was talking directly to me. I never did another drug in my life after that night. Now I'm 46, have a great family, just got a raise and making $135,000 a year, living in a beautiful home. It doesn't get much better than this. I was high as a kite on my way to work. My usually heroin had fentanyl in it, and I was zonked out. Should not have been driving, like at all. I was all over the road. Left shoulder, right shoulder, oncoming traffic, you name it. I was so fucked up I didn't even notice or care what was happening. I somehow made it to a gas station about 35 minutes away without incident, where I feel asleep standing up in the line to pump gas, nodding out as we called it. Someone at the store realized I was driving and had called the police, and they stalled my gas pump to give the police time to arrive. I pump my gas, and as I'm pulling away, I am surrounded by quite a few cop cars. The cop comes up to my window and tells me that someone called because they were concerned about me. He shines his light in my eyes and asks to see them. I bravely look into his eyes close up. I know my pupils are the size of a pinhead, but I was so high I was confident as hell. I was no longer nodding out and was able to form coherent sentences, and the cop just says, "Okay," and looks down and does the most disappointed head-hung head shake I ever got in my life. The look of pure disappointment on his face made me realize how much I'd been fucking up. When I sobered up, I realized that I had been messing up really badly, and things could have gone much worse for me that morning. I am very lucky I am not dead and did not kill anyone else that morning. I am sorry to all those whose lives I put at risk the times I did that. I can't undo what I've done, but I try to live my life by the best standards I can now. I don't know who you were, officer, but you saved my life that day. I've been clean for 4 years now. 21 years ago, I had graduated college, just taken the NCLEX exam, and was waiting on my start date for a military nursing job. Living at my mom's house in the interim, I got a phone call from the hospital in the early morning. My brother had been in a car accident. At first I thought, oh, he had a fender bender. I had just woken up. Turns out my mom lost control of her vehicle while she was driving him to school on her way to work. His third day at community college. She was dead. He was brain dead on life support. I lost them both in the same day. It changed my view on everything: religion, life, death, aging, everything. Doing mushrooms the first time, I used to judge people who tried really hard, socially growing up. I called them tryhards and judged them for being awkward, for posing and pretending to be something they weren't. I have a big personality and take up a lot of space in the room, and I would ignore them, unintentionally making them feel small. I say unintentionally because to me I just didn't like them and didn't want to talk to them. I wasn't cognizant of the fact that ignoring them was mean or could affect them. I was just thinking about myself. I was tripping on mushrooms, and it was the first time I felt connected to the world around me, beyond my own nose. I had an epiphany that people who were trying too hard just wanted to fit in and find their place in the world. Not everyone was as lucky as me to have a really good sense of self at a really young age. What they needed was inclusion, not exclusion. I realized I could use my big personality to make space for these people and to include them intentionally. That was 30 years ago. Been a nicer, kinder, more compassionate person ever since. My favorite response yet. It's hard to admit that we kind of suck sometimes, but it's so impressive when we are able to recognize it and decide to improve. My grandmother's death. I had no idea just how much she meant to me until that day. Granted, we were very close. She raised me and was a mother to me. I knew I loved her dearly, and I knew she was important to me. Hell, I'd stood between her and our abuser countless times because I'd rather he hurt me than her. I had thought about how I'd feel the day she'd die, but little did I know how it would really feel. That day changed everything. I lost my entire world. My entire life was gone the way I'd known it for 27 years. I had no ground to stand on. I had no guiding light. I had nothing. My whole world was ripped off of me from one moment to the next, and I had no idea what to do. The depression I had for years finally got loose. I lost control. The anxiety soared like never before. I was in utter despair. I had to go to therapy, something I needed for a very long time. I thought of dying again, after years without suicidal thoughts. I cried for months on end. I grabbed my phone and called her number several times, hoping she'd pick up and tell me it was all a bad dream. It's been almost 3 years since she died. Things are better now, but I still haven't found my way in this new life of mine. Her dying was my worst nightmare, which I knew would come true eventually. I just wasn't expecting it to be so soon. July 19th, 2020. Sat down to relax after deep cleaning the house and getting ready for the work week. Turned on the TV and the screen got so dim that I couldn't even see what was playing. My left side went numb and I tried to smack some feeling into it. My mom was home, but she was outside smoking. She had asked me if she could jump in the shower before me. She had to get up earlier, so I agreed. But usually I jump in the shower after finishing my Sunday night cleaning, so I was a little bit pissed that she was taking so long. So I thought I would just call her and ask her to come in because something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was. But of fucking course, she left her phone in the living room where she had been sitting, so I couldn't call her. Then my face went numb, and he immediately thought, having a stroke. Thought I would just go outside to her, but when I got up to go outside, I fell and smacked my face into the laundry basket because it was laundry day. So I just started hollering for her and hoped that she could hear me outside. She couldn't hear me, so I don't know how long I had been on the floor yelling for her. She finally came back in and I yelled, "I'm having a stroke." She called 911. I suppose I could have called, but I just thought I was jumping to the worst possible conclusion and that maybe nothing was wrong, which is why I wanted to talk to my mom, and maybe she would help me to realize that maybe I just had a pinched nerve or something. Thankfully for me, I fell unconscious before the ambulance arrived so that I didn't continue to freak out that I was going to die. I was taken to the local hospital where they life-flighted me to Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, underwent an emergency decompressive craniectomy and had brain surgery and was on a ventilator for 2 weeks, under a medically induced coma. Immediately after coming out of the coma, I was transferred to a nursing home and rehab facility where I have been now for almost 4 years, where I am also resident counsel, vice president, and the youngest resident. So I'm surrounded by old people who tell me every day that I'm too young to be in a wheelchair, LOL. I had a hemorrhagic stroke. I had undiagnosed and untreated high blood pressure that weakened the vessels in my brain, and that night, the vessel ruptured and caused my stroke. Now I'm permanently disabled, met someone at a bar. It was 2008. I was halfway through what was supposed to be just a year of living abroad in Asia. We fell for each other hard. While I returned home as originally planned, it was a short 3 months before I headed back 7,000 miles east to see about a girl. The relationship that followed only lasted 2 years, but in returning, I eventually met the woman I would go on to marry. And what was supposed to be just a year away from home turned into 6. Come May, we'll have been together 14 years. The other life-changing moment was being adopted as an infant. I went from an orphanage in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, a violent and impoverished third world country, to nice, warm, and loving home in central Minnesota. Been playing with house money ever since. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories.